this admonition this morning is the temple of the living Yahweh. The temple of the living Yahweh. Where is the old temple? Where is the old temple that began in the wilderness as tabernacle? When they got into the land of Israel, the land of inheritance, they built temple. First temple that was destroyed, second temple that was destroyed. So where is the temple standing today? Where is the new temple of today? Is there temple at all? Temple that Yahweh commanded Israel to live and worship him into? Where is the temple today? Is the temple gone forever? If the temple failed, why did that temple fall? 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and 1 Corinthians chapter 3 is our text. Let me quickly take us through 2 Corinthians chapter 6. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I want to read, I'm not taking it all. I want to read from verse 11. Let me read it so that we will be carried along from where Paul, derived the statement he made at the end of the text. We then, as workers together with him, also plead with you not to receive the grace of Yahweh in vain. For he says, in an acceptable time I have heard you, and in the day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. We give no offense in anything, that our ministry may not be blamed. But in all things, we commend ourselves as ministers of Yahweh in much patience, in tribulations, in needs, in distresses, in strifes, in imprisonments, in tumults, in labors, in sleeplessness, in fastings, by purity, by knowledge, long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by sincere love, by the word of truth, by the power of Yahweh, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left, by honor and dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true, as unknown and yet well unknown, as dying and behold, we live, as unknown and yet well known, as dying and behold, we live, as destined and yet not killed, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making many rich, as having nothing and yet possessing all things. O Corinthians, this verse 11 is where Paul opened up. From verse 1 to 10, he was admonishing them. Be careful so that you will not mess up with the grace that Yahweh bestowed on you. At the time you received the good news of life, the good news of salvation. When you needed help, it was granted you. Even the good news offered you salvation. And what else more than that? Now, that salvation should not be toyed with. Now, we are hoping that one day, Sunday, if we get ourselves prepared, that salvation will be our own. You Corinthians, you are not watching. You are not hearing. You are not listening. You don't understand the spirit of your call, the doctrine you are called into. Apostle Paul enumerated what he was going through. Going into the work of the ministry, to him, not a child's play. He recounted his problems, his troubles, his tribulation, his persecutions that he went through or he encountered. He was confronted with all manner of distress, imprisonment, stripes. He had sleeplessness. He was in tumults. He was in labor. He was praying. He was fasting. And Yahweh was everything to him. It appeared as if life was full of misery. To those that pursue salvation, to those that pursue righteousness, it's not, it's not something that you, or something that has been packaged for you to go in. It's like you have a prepared city where you have everything flowing, everything. No. We have to work out our salvation with fear and trembling, with all our strength, with all our energy. Work, apply yourself to it. Nothing is made and kept there for you. But as you fight the battle of life, as you make your way, Yahweh is there to help you. Yahshua is there to guide you with his spirit. Now, he talked about what was given. Even what people are messing around, people are castigating, people are making mockery of those that follow the truth. So it's not as easy. It's not, in Christendom, we see the way of Yahweh as a smooth sailing, like Yeshua described the broad way. They look at it as a broad way where everything is there flowing, whatever you lay your hands, whatever you want you get and all that. It's not like that Apostle Paul was describing. So he said, even in long suffering, he sought purity, he sought knowledge, he sought long suffering, patience, kindness, Holy Spirit, to help him, guide him. And sincere love was what he put on, and all that also followed the way. The word of truth, the power of Yahweh, the armor of the Yahweh's righteousness at his right hand and at his left hand. Honor, and even in dishonor, he was there. He was firm. He was moving forward. Even when people bring evil report or good report, he was careless. He was focused, doing what he was given to do. Even when deceivers come his way, even when deceivers will, turn to his work as untrue, he remained truthful in what he was doing. Even when people didn't know him, he didn't care. That verse 9 says, as unknown and yet well known, as dying, and behold, we live, as chastened and yet not killed, as sorrowful yet. So he was here revealing to us the tribulation, the persecution, the trouble. People will tarnish what you are doing. People will castigate you. People will. Then to these Corinthians, it wasn't so. And that is what we see in Christianity today. In fact, most of all these places where the disciples or the apostles wrote an epistle, spoke about in the scripture, many of them were the Gentile world. It wasn't easy converting them. They had their mentality, they had their old ways of life, their character they lived, as we find today in the Gentile world, in the Christendom, in Islam, in Judaism. These religions invade the human hearts, the human mind, the human way of thinking, and the human way of behaving, and how they see Yahweh and how they see things, particularly this salvation, this kingdom call. So many of these religious groups, they look at it and see, the way of getting into the kingdom their own way. But Shaul was pointing to them that they should see it the way it is. For instance, Yeshua came, he labored. He had the right to stop every human being and to be in charge, to be on top, to claim to become king automatically. But he didn't do that. He followed the Father's instruction. Because human beings had failed, they have to pay the price. They have to suffer through that. They have to go through stress, through distress, they have to serve their punishment. Yeshua didn't commit any crime. He didn't sin. Then he went through, the stress, the trouble, the distress, the pain, the persecution, affliction that somebody who sinned would go. He passed through that. Disciples passed through that. That's what problem. Body has to pass through that. Yeshua said, through we enter the kingdom. Then when you call somebody to pay attention, listen, be careful, so that as you are passing through all this, you will not be, saying all manner of things. You will not be provoking Yahweh. You will not be provoking your brother, your sister, or the assembly you are. You'll be doing the right thing as Yahweh commands you to do, so that you'll escape. When you call them to that, they say all things that are unprintable. Here, Apostle Paul finds these Corinthians not following the instruction, not following the way. Now, you can hear him in verse 11, where he started, addressing them squarely. Oh, Corinthians, we have spoken openly to you. These Corinthian people were not open. They were behaving like people who have something to hide. They didn't have open mind. They didn't have open hearts. They didn't have open spirit. They were doing things their own way. They were secretive. Apostle Paul was touched when he heard their story. He had gone there. And even the messages that they were bringing, the report they were bringing, was not in tune with his teachings, with what he taught them. And he went on, we have spoken openly to you. Our heart is wide open. You are not restricted by us, but you are restricted by your own affections. Can you see that? Their own affections. They had their life pursuit, passion. There are things they were pursuing. There are things they loved, things of the world, mundane things. They were not forthcoming. They were not forthright. Here, he wasn't pushing to blame them, but he was pushing to correct them. Said, verse 13, now in return for the same, I speak as to children. You also be open. Apostle Paul is saying, be open-minded to the word of truth. Come open. Open your face, open your ears, open your heart to the word of truth. Do the right things. Verse 14, do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. Now, this is where Apostle Paul was coming, because he saw that these people had gone backwards. Their problem was here idolatry. In fact, whatever that you call failure, at times people will hear the truth, hear the message, hear the gospel, but they do that. Once somebody goes into pursuing his own affection, the person will be in trouble.
Let go.
For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness? Yahweh has called us into righteousness, to pursue good way of life. Now they were overturning righteousness, going into lawlessness, into iniquity, into sin. And what communion has light with darkness? All these are transgression. They had gone into transgression. And what accord has Messiah with Belial? What accord has Yahshua with Satan? What? Or what part has a believer with an unbeliever? Why do you mix yourself with unbeliever? Why do you drink and enjoy foods and drinks of idol worshippers in their idol shrine and the idol community? He's asking, or what part has a believer with an unbeliever? And what agreement has the temple of Yahweh with idols? For you are the temple of the living Yahweh, as Yahweh has said. This is what Yahweh said in the Old Testament time. I will dwell in them and walk among them. I will be their father, and they shall be my people. The issue is not temple. The issue is them. Just like Yahweh said in the time of old, Yahweh noted Israel, that he will live with Israel, though he will give them temple. That was the whole idea. But he knew that they will not sustain and live holy, even worshiping him or serving him in the temple. So it's like saying, before the foundation of the earth was laid, he has, brought out the idea of making the word flesh, giving us the seed, Yahshua, to redeem mankind, human beings. So here, why he had in mind about the temple, he already worked out how he will leave the temple alone, because they will not sustain serving him there. He has worked out how he will live in them. We also see this when Israelites came into the land. Yahshua, or Yahweh himself, prepared to have the land forever. He gave them a clause: if you obey my covenant, if you keep my commandment, you will live there. But he knew they will not live there. Moses told them in the wilderness that they will even worship new gods in the Gentile world when he scattered them. And that was what happened. So Yahweh looked beyond them living in the land of Israel. He was seeing them in the land of Gentiles. So when Yahweh is speaking to somebody, he speaks to the person at that time and the end of that situation. So it holistically, and that is why we talk about prophecy, particularly typological prophecies that had to be repeated in somehow in future time or along the time. So here we see Yahweh is going in this message. I mean, Shaul was, centering his message, that the people, though they were called into this salvation, they had abandoned the salvation. They were no longer there. They have gone backwards. They are now intermarrying. They are now eating and drinking with those who worship wood and stone, who worship idols. Verse 17, therefore, come out, this is the solution, come out from among them and be ye separate, says Yahweh. Do not touch what is unclean, and I will receive you. I will be a father to you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, says Yahweh Almighty. Now, the query I posed earlier is, where is the old temple, the building? Yahweh looked beyond the old temple and situated it in them, in his people. Now, you may ask, even the temple he situates into his people or inside his people, where is it today? Where is this temple that Yahweh situated into his people? Where is it today? Into the bodies of believers. Where is it today? Would you see somebody, you will see him building the temple of Yahweh? It's not about the building. Particularly after the temple, the first, in fact, it's not even the first and second. You have the temple in the wilderness, tabernacle that was built, where they were gathering, the converging points, where Yahweh was addressing them. When they came out from the wilderness into the land, they built a place in Shilo. Now, where is that? That Shilo was somewhere around Samaria. Where is that Shilo? Yahweh spoke about how that Shilo will fall, and that Shilo fell. Then at the time of David thought of building the temple. Yahweh said, you cannot build the temple because your hand is bloody. Your son will do that. That was Solomon. Solomon built the first temple. And Yahweh said that temple will go down. Why? Idol has been the issue. Somebody will say, talking about idol, what is this idol? I don't do wood and stone. I don't bow to images. I don't do this. I don't do that. There are so many things that we do that put us together. Said, what relationship has Belial and the Messiah? What relationship has believer and unbeliever? The believer, before you know it, they fuse with unbelievers doing their own thing, and they mess themselves up. Their temple will be, swept away. The spirit of Yahweh will walk away. Once the spirit of Yahweh goes away, either from a building or from that body, it's a fall. That body or the temple will fall, will go down. So where is the temple today? Why did the temple fall? Whether Old Testament temple or the New Testament temple of the body. Now, let's look at what Yahweh said. Yahweh saw it in advance that the temple will go down. First temple, second temple. Let's listen to him in 1 Kings 9, verse 8. And this house will become a heap of ruins. Everyone who passes by will be astonished and hiss and say, why has Yahweh done thus to this land and to this house? That is the temple, or the house of Yahweh. Ezra 5, verse 12. But because our fathers had provoked Yahweh of heaven to wrath with their idols in the temple. Did you hear that? They provoked Yahweh. Ezekiel chapter 8, the whole of Ezekiel chapter 8 spoke about that, what they were doing in the temple. What were they doing? Even in the temple of Yahweh, they were bringing idols inside, worshiping idols, different gods. The mighty ones of Gentiles were brought into the temple. Can you see why the temple falls? He gave them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, the Chaldean, who destroyed this temple, that is the first temple, and deported the people to Babylon. Anytime the temple falls, Yahweh will do something on the people. He will deal with them. He will clear them. Anytime they mess up his temple, he will wipe them away. And this calls for a serious warning. If the temple was the building from the wilderness, you have tabernacle, into the land of Israel, you had Shilo, a house, and what you call modern temple was raised, built by Solomon. And another one built when they came back from from Babylon. The tribe of Judah built the second temple. If Yahweh destroyed all of them, as he said in 2 Kings 25 to verse 9, that the reason Yahweh destroyed and burned them was because of what they were doing. They were worshiping idols. 2 Kings 25:9, he burned the house of Yahweh. That is the first temple. The king's house and all the houses of Jerusalem, even every great house, he burned with fire. Lamentations 2 verse 6. And he has violently treated his tabernacle like a garden booth. He has destroyed his appointed meeting place, that is the temple. Yahweh has caused to be forgotten the appointed feast and Sabbath in Zion, and he has despised king and priest in the indignation of his anger. Anytime Yahweh destroys his temple, whatever they do in the temple will be null and void. Whatever they are doing, it is going to be null and void. But we bless Yahweh because before he scattered Israelites all over the world, even when Yeshua came, he said wherever they go, he will go with them, provided they do not nullify his covenant. They do not remove his law from them. Inasmuch as they live with his law, abide by his principles, abide by his commandments, he said he will dwell with them and in them. So that is assurance. Otherwise, the fall of temple will be their fall, will be Yahweh separating himself from them. Did he separate himself? Each time they sin, he separates himself from them. Lamentations 2:6 tells us that their feast and their Sabbath, Yahweh was not there because they were provoking Yahweh to anger each time when they mess up, serving idols of nations. Matthew 24 verse 2. Now when Yeshua came, he warned again. He warned about the second temple, that it will go down. In the Old Testament, Yahweh had been warning. The temple will go down. The temple. When Yeshua came, he inherited the second temple. He served and worshipped in that second temple. And in that temple, he taught. He declared the good news of the kingdom in that temple. Why did that temple fall? Let's listen to him. And he, Yeshua, said to them, do you not see all these things? That is, he was showing them the temple. Truly, I say to you, not one stone here will be left upon another, which will not be torn down. If you tell average Jewish person, that's why they hated Yeshua to their marrow. They hated him. Because each time he speaks this type of language or prophesies something like this, they will say he's against them. It's against their law. It's against their doctrine. It's against their temple. It's against their land. But was it so? The same message of old was preached to them, even at that time. Even today, it's still being preached. So he told them the temple will fall. Why? Because they were eating and drinking, selling and buying in the temple. They were making merits. They were celebrating. They were worshiping idols in the same temple. Even when Yeshua was around, they were doing the same thing. Remember, He took a whip and sacked them, drove them, threw away, money changers, those who are selling goats, dogs, whatever they can sell. No, dog wasn't there. It was maybe sheep, goat, cow, all manner of whatever they were. Exchanging money. It was like stock exchange. Or they turned, part of the building as a place of trading. And Yeshua flogged hell out of them. Mark 13 verse 2. And Yeshua said to him, do you see these great buildings? Not one stone will be left upon another, which will not be torn down. This is Mark saying what Matthew wrote. Let us hear Luke. Luke 19 verse 14. And they will level you, and they will level you to the ground. He was referring to that building. This building, it will fall. And your children within you. So those that are worshiping even in that temple, the land, the people, their children, all of them will go down. And they will not leave you in one stone upon another, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation. Even in their messing up, they didn't realize that all that will lead them to their destruction. Luke 21:6. As for these things, that is temple and its glory, which you are looking at, the days will come in which there will not be left one stone upon another, which will not be torn down. Every stone will be removed and be brought down. Daniel chapter 9 verse 26. Then after the 62 weeks, this is Daniel predicting even before Yeshua came, about Yeshua, how they are going to gang up against Yeshua, kill him, and the temple will go down, the land will go down, everything will be completely messed up. Why? Because of Belial, because of worship of Belial, because of worship of Satan, which they do through different means of idols, wood and stone, worshiping or use of images, use of pictures to serve Satan. That will happen. Then after the 62 weeks, the Messiah, that is Yeshua, will be cut off. They did it and have nothing. And the people of the prince, that is Roman soldiers, who is to come, will destroy the city and the sanctuary, that is the second temple. And its end will come with a flood. Even to the end, there will be war. Desolations are determined. When you talk about Israel today, you want to ask, who are those who are there? Who are the people that are there? That they predicted that as they cut off Yeshua, before time, these people will be swept away. The land will be turned upside down. The Roman soldiers will do it. Did they do it? Yes. Last week, we talked about how the Crusaders, the Roman Catholic Church, at different times invaded the land, Jerusalem, and also the Islamic world. They fought and fought and fought, conquered, and so on and so forth. Up to today, the occupiers are Gentiles, foreigners. Why did Yahweh destroy the temple? Why? I mentioned that earlier, but I'm going to recall it with this 1 Kings 19 verse 10 to point out the same thing that has befell or bedeviled Israel up to today. Reasons for destruction of the temple. 1 Kings 19:10 picked some of them. Says, he said, I have been very zealous for Yahweh, the Father of hosts, for the sons of Israel have forsaken your covenant. Did you hear that? Once the covenant, once the way of Yahweh is forsaken, that is the law, Torah is forsaken, what will happen? That agreement to keep the Torah, once it's forsaken, then there will be trouble. So turn down your altars. They have turned down the altars. These Roman people came, they turned down the altars and killed your prophets with the sword. And I alone am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Even in the time of this prophet, they did terrible, terrible things. They did terrible things. So we can see that the problem of Israel has been destruction and removing of Yahweh's Torah from them, which he made with them as agreement that they must uphold, they must live with, covenant. Now, we see in Romans 11 verse 3, Yahweh, they have killed your prophets, they have torn down your altars, and I alone am left, and they are seeking my life. So Shaul was quoting 1 Kings 19 verse 10, which we read. Now, the prophets of Yahweh clearly foretold what will happen to Israel, even the later Israel, even up to today, what will be happening to the people of Yahweh this day. So the prophecy of whatever that is called temple, whether it is tabernacle, whether it is Shilo, the house in Samaria, or the first and second temple, we are all predicted that they will go down. Now, let us reference Ezekiel. Let's reference Ezekiel to hear Yahweh speak to Ezekiel how Israel messed up. This was the issue or the case of the first temple. And this is one of the reasons Yahweh drove them into Babylon. Majorly why they went into Babylon. Then he said to me, Yahweh said to Ezekiel, Son of man, lift your eyes now to the north of the temple. So I lifted my eyes towards the north, and there, north of the altar gate, was this image of jealousy in the entrance. Image of jealousy. That was what Yahweh showed Ezekiel. Image of jealousy was the image. These idols today people celebrate. Idol people celebrate. Idol people worship. The picture of Jesus people worship. People don't know what they're worshiping. It is image. It is picture. I mean, they carry the picture everywhere. All over the world, they carry the picture. Picture of Jesus. People bow to others. They don't know what they're doing. This is what Yahweh was showing Ezekiel. In their temple, they left the image, the so-called image of Jesus. At that time, he had his own name, or the name that they were calling him. Today, he is Jesus. Verse 6, furthermore, he said to me, Son of man, do you see what they are doing? The great abomination. This is called great abominations. Once somebody is worshiping this Belial that does his worship or follow, cause people to follow his way of taking glory or worship via wood and stone, whatever, in whatever form, image, picture, object. Once they are doing it, they are doing what? In short, Yahweh called that abomination. So Yahweh called it great abominations that the house of Israel commits here to make me go far away from my sanctuary or temple. Once that is done, once somebody goes or lives with idol, Yahweh will walk away. Said Israel make Yahweh to walk away from his temple. Now, turn again, Ezekiel. You will see greater abominations. So he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, there was a hole in the wall. Who dug the hole in the wall? What was it about? Then he said to me, Son of man, dig into the wall. And when I dug into the wall, there was a door right inside the wall. This is inside the temple. When he got in, there was a wall, after a wall, and then door. When that door was open, it was all manner of idols. All manner of idols, 30 things were there. That is what is happening today. Many of them who are in Christendom are the occult people, doing all manner of occultist thing, which is prevalent in so many religions today. The same thing is still happening. And he said to me, go in and see the wicked abominations which they are doing there. So I went in and saw, and there every sort of creeping thing, abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel, portrayed all around the walls. It's like painted pictures, all kind of things, images, objects were there, littered everywhere in that particular room where Ezekiel was brought into. And there stood before them 70 men of the elders of the house of Israel. Do you hear that? 70 men. These are the 70 leaders. Yahweh will always appoint 70 men or 70 people from each tribe and so on to be their head. So all these people who were their leaders were the people carrying idol. Look at leaders of the world today. You think they are with you or you are with them. They are all bowing to Belial, all bowing to Satan. Unfortunately, many cannot see it. That's why the Apostle Paul said that they didn't even notice when their trouble was ahead of them, because they didn't even know, or they were carried away by the idol that we are worshiping. Were they worshiping the idol and thinking Yahweh is there, or Yahweh will, be glorified in the idol? Mixing worship of Yahweh with worship of idol. That is what is happening today. It's very common today. Today, people call the name of God, Lord, Jesus, with the name of Yahweh. You can't mix it. Can't mix his name with such. He doesn't take it. He doesn't. It's either you call Yahweh and you worship him, you serve him, or you call all those Belial names. So I went in and saw, and there every sort of creeping thing, abominable things were there. And there stood before them 70 men of the elders of the house of Israel, and in their midst stood Azaniah, the son of Shaphan, in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then he said to me, Son of man, have you seen what the elders of the house of Israel do in the dark? See what they do? When they do their evil, they carry out that. It's always in the darkest time of the night. Every man in the room of his idols. For they say, Yahweh does not see us. Yahweh has forsaken the land. So they will now find themselves a power, another power that supersedes the power of Yahweh, or that we counter. Even the absence of Yahweh, that they are serving will, take over and cancel the presence of Yahweh. And he said to me, turn again, and you will see greater abominations that they are doing. So he brought me to the door of the north gate of Yahweh's house, and to my dismay, women were sitting there weeping for Tammuz. Who is Tammuz? All the way from where? From Genesis chapter 10 and Genesis chapter 11. We hear about Nimrod and his family, Nimrod and the wife. That place explains the story of Nimrod, who was the first beast of human beings. He was first man that made himself idol that people will worship, people will serve him. The mighty one, the mighty hunter. So one of his sons was called, or his son, because I don't know whether he had other sons. I don't think. It was this Tammuz. It was him, the son, and the wife. They were three. And the Trinitarians used this three, the Nimrod, Semiramis, the wife, and this Tammuz, as the three, powers of the Trinity. So this Tammuz, the son of Nimrod, was made a power that they will worship, idol or God they will worship. And people in the time of Nimrod, through to the time in Israel, they worshipped this Tammuz, the son of Nimrod. They worshipped him because he has made himself sun god. The father was sun god, or the father was worshipped or seen as representing the sun god. Satan used the father to serve him via the symbol of sun god. So Tammuz was worshipped. The women were crying and bowing to this Tammuz. Then he said to me, have you seen this, O son of man? Turn again, you will see greater abominations than these. So he brought me into the inner court of Yahweh's house, and there at the door of the temple of Yahweh, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs towards the temple of Yahweh and their faces towards the east, and they were worshiping sun towards the east. That was what Nimrod knew how to do. Worship of sun god. Nimrod, Tammuz, the son, and the wife, Semiramis. So you can see that Israelites were worshiping sun god, only the name of Tammuz. And they carried it where? Into the temple. All this were happening in the temple. Today, in many churches, that is what you see. That is what you see. All those images of God, of Lord, of Jesus that they put there. Who are they worshiping? Belial, Satan. All in the name of Jesus. It didn't start today. Bible had recorded all these things and kept. Verse 17. And he said to me, have you seen this, O son of man? Is it a trivial thing to the house of Judah to commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence. Now, when people worship idols in different form, in all these religions, the land will always be filled with trouble, violence, evil, iniquity will be everywhere. Trouble will be everywhere. And you see people killing themselves, you see people stealing, you see people, because the law the covenant has been put down. The law of Yahweh has been put down. If the law of Yahweh is kept by the people, the land will be wonderful, be peaceful. People will live in safety. If stealing will go, covetousness will go, worshiping of all these other things will go. The land will be clean, the land will be pure, the land will be progressive. But when either show me any nation that is in violence, at war, any nation that you see robbers, armed robbers, stealing, people, lying, covetousness, that nation is full of idols. Satan is in charge. That is what is happening. That's what Yahweh is telling us here. Now, on, said here, violence is with them. Then they have returned to provoke me to anger. Indeed, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore, I also will act in fury. You see, when all this is going on in the land, the people are stealing, the people are lying, the people are coveting, the people are killing, the people are serving idols as they want, serving Satan. Yahweh will be angry. Yahweh will be wroth against them. Then the next moment, it is punishment. Either war or pestilence, that is disease, famine, earthquake, flood, all manner of things begin to happen. My eye will not spare, nor will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, I will not hear them. Did you hear that? Time will come in this world we live when men will run helter skelter. They will pray from morning till night. Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. You will ask me, what about those who serve Yahweh? Yes, Yahweh will hear them. Amen. Though they may be passing through troubles and problems, because that is where we find ourselves, in the world of iniquity. but Yahweh will save them. Because of the evil of idols and the trading in the temple, Yahshua predicted the fall of the temple to affirm Yahweh's earlier warning, like we read in Ezekiel chapter 8. First Kings 19 verse 10. It's affirmation. Now, let's listen to Yahshua's warning about how Jerusalem will fall, how the people will be destroyed because of this idol thing that they were carrying, trading with, and living with. Luke chapter 21, 23b to 24 of book of Luke 21. New Living Translation says, "For there will be disaster in the land." Did you hear Yahshua? He said there will be disaster in the land of that Judea, the land of Israel. There will be disaster. And the great anger against these people, anger of Yahweh, will fall upon Israel. They will be killed by the sword or sent away as captives to all the nations of the world. And Jerusalem will be trampled down by the Gentiles until the period of the Gentiles comes to an end. That is still what is happening today. Because the temple is down. As Yahshua said, the temple that is down, the foreigners who conquered them, who destroyed them, will be there until the time of that Gentile world expires. Has it expired? No, they're still there. And until everything they are doing and they are continuing doing will be on until such a time when Yahshua will say, it's okay, and he'll be returning to redeem or claim that land because he will repossess it. He will come and sack. He is the one that is going to drive away the Gentiles. Not Israelites. Oh, Israelites are scattered a long time ago all over the world. They don't know even their land. They don't even know. No, they know, oh, that Jerusalem, that's Israel. They don't know it as their own possession. The true owners of the land are scattered all over the world. But time will come when Yahweh will open their eyes again and they say, okay, get ready to go back to the land. But that will be the time of great tribulation and the time of wrath of Yahweh upon the earth. Today's temple, we talk about temple about, what Yahweh has today as his temple. Where is Yahweh's temple today? We ask that question. Where is his temple? Now, today's temple is you and me. The believer is the temple. Yahweh has spoken about Shilo. Yahweh has spoken about the tabernacle. Yahweh has spoken about the first temple and second temple. The building, the structure went down. Why? Because of idol, because of wickedness, because of rebellion against his covenant. What about today? Are they still rebelling? They are nowhere to be found. They are nowhere to be found in obedience. They are nowhere to be found in obeying that Torah, that commandment, that which would have kept them at peace and made them live in the land and eat the good of the land. They have broken the covenant. I and you supposed to be the temple of Yahweh. No longer the building. No longer the building. Anybody who is decorating building, it says that is where Yahweh, the person is fooling himself. Can we worship in a building? Yes. I mean, you can't do the service without, but Yahweh reside inside us. Before, Yahweh was residing in the temple. Now, he says, I'm out of the temple because the temple is down. He's broken all over the world. He's broken anybody that's in this particular temple. That is where Yahweh, like when Solomon built the temple, for instance, he said, Yahweh told Solomon after he prayed, Yahweh said, okay, don't worry, I've had your prayer. I will stay in this temple. I will be in this temple. Whenever you have a problem, you run into this temple, your problem will be over. I will come, I will intervene, and I will give you peace. It's no longer like that. You can't point to any building and say, that building, when we have problem, we run into it, we call on Yahweh, based on running into that building, that Yahweh will intervene. No, it's all about you, because you are the temple now. And where are you? That is the query. That is the essence of this message. Where are you? The temple. Where are you, the temple? The temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahshua. Where are you? You as the body of Messiah is the marks of the ministry. You are the image. You are the picture. You are the mirror of the ministry. When people see you, they see the ministry of Yahshua. When people see you, they see the temple. They see the originality. Who Yahweh created in his image to have his character and to follow after his way. Where are you? Let's look at let's look at the call of Paul. Paul asked the Corinthians, I don't see your righteousness. I don't see your holiness. I don't see you as set apart person. You must be set apart because Yahweh you follow, you serve, you worship. Yahweh is set apart. The spirit of Yahweh is set apart. You must be set apart. You must be holy. That's what set apart is. You must be holy. But you are not holy. So there is no communion. You don't have to have communion with those who celebrate with idol, who go and kill animals and drink their blood and walk with their, or throw the blood upon themselves. No, that is idolatry. That is wickedness. In fact, I think it's Hebrews chapter 10 from verse 26. Yahshua said, anybody that is doing that now is in trouble. Because the person is trampling upon the blood of Yahshua. Even the spirit of Yahshua, the Holy Spirit of grace is trampled upon. So that person, the punishment will be greater than the punishment that was meted to Israelites when Moses was there, when they will have 2 persons or 3 persons as witness. He said the person's punishment now will be so great. So he told them, do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. Don't follow those who destroyed the covenant of Yahweh. The covenant that was renewed in Yahshua Messiah. Anybody that is trampling upon that covenant, anybody that is trampling upon the blood of Yahshua, anybody that is, dealing with the Holy Spirit, messing the work of the Holy Spirit, said the person will be killed outrightly. The person will be killed. Now, what are we to do? What are we to do? You are the new temple of Yahweh, decided by Yahshua, or decided, you are, Yahshua is resident in you, and the spirit of Yahshua is living in you. So what do you do? 2 Corinthians 6:17, which we read, gave clear picture of what we must do. It said, therefore, come out from among them and be separate, be holy, says Yahweh, be holy. Do not touch what is unclean, and I will receive you. I will be a father to you. If you live a pure heart, a pure life, if you live a holy life, a set apart life, a righteous life, I will be a father to you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, says Yahweh Almighty. That is the way and how it should be. That is the call. That is what we should do. That's what we should do. 1 Corinthians chapter 3. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 3. 6, 16 and 17. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, 16 to 17. Sorry, 16 to 17. Do you not know that you are the temple of Yahweh? He's asking us a question. And that the spirit of Yahweh dwells in you. Do you know? If we say we have spirit, whose spirit do we have? When we mismet ourselves, when we connect ourselves, when we, interact with all these idol things, fetish things, those who serve Belial, Satan, demons, evil spirits, and all those, when we get ourselves connected and tangled ourselves, then we drive away Yahweh. We drive away the spirit of Yahweh. That is what happens. That is where we find ourselves when we are messing up with Yahweh's Torah, Yahweh's instruction. If anyone defies the temple of Yahweh, Yahweh will destroy him. For the temple of Yahweh is holy. Which temple? You are. We are the temple now. If we mess Yahweh's word, if we trample upon the covenant that Yahweh made with us, we drive Yahweh away from our lives. And our body being the temple of Yahweh, we destroy it. Yahweh wouldn't want us to destroy his temple. Our body is Yahweh's temple. Yahweh resides there. The spirit of Yahweh resides there, that leads us on a daily basis. Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51. He says something again in Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51, verse 6 to 7. Jeremiah 51, 6 to 7. Said, Jeremiah 51, 6 to 7. Flee from the midst of Babylon, and everyone save his life. Do not be cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He shall recompense her. Babylon was a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunk. The nations drank her wine. Therefore, the nations are deranged. Babylon has suddenly fallen and been destroyed. Well for her. Now, the thing is, if somebody is intermingling himself with Babylon, Babylon is this world we are now, the world we are. If we compromise with the world, if we relate ourselves with the world, associate ourselves with the world, if we are not separate, if we are not holy as Yahweh wants us to be holy, then when Babylon will be fallen, all those who entangled themselves with Babylon will go down with Babylon. Now, he made a statement in number 16. Number 16, very, very important. The same separating ourselves, from anything that will entangle us, anything that will defile us, anything that will cause Yahweh to flee from us. The spirit of Yahweh, if the spirit of Yahweh leaves us, we'll be in trouble. Read from verse 26. Number 16, 26 says, and he spoke to the congregation, saying, depart now from the tents of these wicked men. Touch nothing of theirs, lest you be consumed in their sins. The world we live today is seen as the wicked congregation as they were in the wilderness. We should not entangle ourselves with them. All those evil, all those ways of iniquity that they are following, the world is following, we should not follow them. We should not drink with them in their cup. We should not drink with them or eat with them in all those things that Yahweh says, don't near, don't go, which those people do. Abomination, all those abominations, we should not find ourselves in them. Numbers chapter 33. Numbers 33. There is a profound statement made there, verse 51. Numbers 33, 51 to 56. There's something I want to point out there. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you have crossed the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, destroy all their engraved stones, destroy all their molded images, and demolish all their high places, including whatever that is there. Engraving images includes even the pictures they carry, images they carry, objects they carry. All those things that Yahweh hate. Today we can see the objects, images flying everywhere. So put the pictures, they call it lapel or whatever, they pin it on their clothes, they pin it, everywhere they decorate. Their altar is decorated with images or pictures of Jesus. Yahweh forbid it. Yahweh says, don't be part of that, because on those bases, Yahweh is going to destroy those who do such things. Zechariah 2, verse 7, telling us separate ourselves from all those stuff. 1 Corinthians 6:19. So your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. So separate yourself from anything that will corrupt you, because Yahweh is not looking for another temple or building another temple or structure. You are that structure. You are the temple. Isaiah 52 verse 11. He also repeated that. Isaiah 52 verse 11. Yahweh also pointed that out. Do not mismethod with the unbeliever. Separate yourself from them. 52 verse 11. Depart, depart. Go out from there. Touch no unclean thing. Go out from the midst of her. Be clean. You who bear the vessels of Yahweh. You bear the vessel of Yahweh. You are the vessel of Yahweh. Your body is the vessel of Yahweh. Yahweh dwell in you. Why would you corrupt yourself? Revelation 18 verse 4. Very critical. In these latter days. Say, that is, it's talking about the Babylon now. Inside this Babylon, that is when now you have to run away physically in these latter days. But if somebody is drinking iniquity, swelling in iniquity, rejoicing in iniquity, how will the person know when the time to run will commence? Revelation chapter 18 verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues. There is time that those who live in Babylon of today will be running away. The Bible has explained that even the great Babylon of today is America. Time will come when the saints will be running away. If you look at Isaiah, I think Isaiah 47 and as Jeremiah 50 and 51 spoke so much about this Babylon, the very modern Babylon, the great Babylon. The whole world is captured as Babylon in the eyes of Yahweh. But the great city, that great city, the capital city of Babylon is America today. Romans 14, 7-8, Mark 7, 18, 23, 1 Timothy 1 and 10. All of them are telling us we must be careful so that anything that will poison our body, anything that will destroy our body, anything that will bring pollution, anything that will defile us, run away from them, because we are the temple of Yahweh. As Yahweh spoke in the time of old through the prophets and said, the building will fall because of pollution, because of polluting the temple. The same way he sees our body. Anything that you do that corrupts your body, you have subjected yourself to destruction. Do not destroy yourself. Do not hand yourself to destruction. Temple of the living Yahweh equal to today our body. Therefore, avoid corruption of your body with idols, with foods offered to idols, or unholy words or messages, even messages we receive today. Most of those messages from where you don't know, who Yahweh never commanded or Yahweh never sent to you. You pick all that they said to you, you swallow them, they pollute your body, they poison your heart, they poison your mind. Before you know it, you are doing something else. Then that is the temple of Yahweh that the person is bringing down. The person will be in trouble. Now, three things or three ways. Let me make it up to four. 4 ways by which you can easily destroy your body. I may not begin to quote. There are so many Bible passages. Number 1, messages or words you receive. If it is not the covenant, you receive another thing. If it is not the Torah or the instruction of Yahweh or the word of Yahweh or the commandments of Yahweh or the judgment of Yahweh or the statutes of Yahweh or ordinances of Yahweh that you are following, if you are following something else, the messages from other angles, as I mentioned before, if you are into that, your body will be destroyed. Yahweh will walk away from you. The spirit of Yahweh will not be with you. That is number 1. Number 2, idols. Be careful about idols. Many things constitute idols. The clothes you wear, if you love it so much, more than Yahweh, more than following Yahweh, the shoe you wear, the money you chase. Yahshua says, seek ye first the kingdom of Yahweh and his righteousness. If you begin to seek what is added or what's supposed to be added, you say, no, you jump out and begin to seek, and you have such love, it will consume the person. Mammon, Yahshua warned that in this latter days people will worship mammon. Be careful. That is another way to entice oneself into idol or idolatry. Idols kill, whether it's image, objects, wood and stone, carved, whatever, however they molded it. If people bow to them, it will destroy them. Idols. Now, sexual immorality is idol. Bible says sexual immorality is idol. Lust, evil desires. Colossians chapter 3 verse 5 explains that very clearly. Isaiah 45 verse 20. Jonah chapter 2 verse 8. Judges 10:14. Leviticus 19 verse 4. All these talk about idols so much. Bible is full of pointing all this out. Are we careful to study our Bible to know what constitutes idol? We should be careful. Anything you love beyond Yahweh, anything you love so much, you crave for so much, that makes you football. Hey, people should be careful. You said, what are you talking about? That is the warning. Yahshua said, be careful. Some people will prefer to go and watch football match and live to worship Yahweh the Sabbath day. What do you say that is? It's idol. Our body, as we have been explaining, 1 Corinthians 6:16, 1 Corinthians 6:19, 1 Corinthians 6:20, Mark 7:18 to 20, Leviticus 18:20, 23, 24, 28, 30, Ezekiel 20:18, Daniel chapter 1 verse 8. All of them is talking about our body. Our body, we must preserve, because anything, if you don't preserve your body, anything, slightest error you commit will poison your body, will pollute your body, and Yahweh will walk away. Your body is precious. Your body, would you say, oh, it is too much? How can I safeguard myself from pollution? Yes, the world is polluted. The noises, even we hear, we can be entangled by it. The words that people speak in our heart, if you are not careful, your heart will be injected with or be poisoned, and you can react somehow, then your body will be polluted. How do you react? How do you behave? Character molder is the Bible. Eat the word of Yahweh, drink from the word of Yahweh. It will continue to train you. It's a lifetime journey. Continue until you are molded. Now, number 4, foods we eat. Foods that are given to idol, that are presented to idol, food that Yahweh said don't eat. Like in Genesis chapter 2, 16 to 17, Yahweh told Adam and Eve, don't eat a particular food. They went and ate that food, and that was the corruption of the whole human being. Yahweh ran away from them. Yahweh separated himself, and man was plunged into death up to today. What about Genesis chapter 3 to 5? That is where the Adam and Eve got involved to eating the fruits of knowledge of good and evil. Evil came in. Knowledge of good was okay because they were into righteousness, they were living in righteousness, but when they strayed into evil, then they were cut off. Yahweh removed himself and they were entangled. Now, 1 Corinthians 10:25 says something. He said, if you go into the market and don't ask any question, whatever you see, buy, eat, drink, and all that. Brethren, shine your eyes. Don't swallow whatever you see. It's one of the things they wrote in the New Testament that I quarrel about. Don't swallow anything that comes your way. Say you are blind, you won't find out, you won't know. Find out what you eat. Why would you lift what you eat to Yahweh? He said, look for clean food, clean food. Don't be blind. I say anything goes. Oh, when I put on anything I eat, it's okay. Yahweh said, look for clean food and eat. So all the clean foods Yahweh has commanded. Leviticus chapter 11, that is where you read all about clean foods. All the unclean foods that are there, discard them. Run away from them. Don't eat them because they pollute your body, they corrupt your body, they mess up your body. Deuteronomy chapter 14 also talk about clean food. Find clean food, eat. Don't eat unclean food. Clean food corrupts. Like unclean food corrupts. Like seafood, some of the seafoods, crayfish, what is this? Crab, snail, what is in there? Snail. In our language. Crickets, all those things. they corrupt the body. Yahweh did all this is to preserve us, to keep us, and for him to live in us and guide our lives. That is why he gave us all these things. But we think we know too much because science has come. Science has said it's everything. That is Satan speaking. It's not science or anything. Because Yahshua is the head, Yahweh is the head of science. Now, restoration of his people. He prophesied in Romans 11:25 to 26. At the end of the time, when Israelites would have realized themselves and they begin to do the right thing, like today, in today's world, we are returning to Yahweh, calling upon his name, keeping our Sabbath, keeping the feasts, calling the name, worshiping Yahweh in his name. Now, Yahweh will return to us and he will take us back home. That is the restoration of Israel. But those amongst Israelites who will not listen, who will not, abide by the covenant that Yahweh asked them to keep, they're not going to go back. They're not going to be restored. Romans 11:25 to 26, Yahweh said, the writer, that is Shaul, wrote, I want you to understand this mystery, dear brothers and sisters, so that you will not feel proud about yourselves. Some of the people of Israel have hard hearts. Hard. Their hearts are hard. Hearts. But this will last only until the full number of Gentiles comes to Messiah. Remember, Yahshua said that Gentile will be trampled of Jerusalem. They will live there, stay there, mess it up until their time is over. So that is what is being pointed out here. Yahshua is in charge of his people. All those that return to him, he will have them, he keeps them, he safeguards them on a daily basis. Then when the time of the Gentiles are over, now he will restore them. That is, he will restore the Israelites, his people. Now, this restoration of Israelites, not only Israelites, those who are born of Abraham, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but also those that are grafted, those Gentiles that are grafted, those Gentiles that have come to receive Yahshua. They will all be part of Israelites. They will be part of the kingdom. They will be part of those who he's coming to rescue and take back to the land. So continuing in Romans 11, he said, and so all Israel will be saved at the time when Yahshua will be coming back to restore them. That is the believers, not all of them, as it is written, said all. That word, all, supposed to be those who believe. The believer, all Israelites that believe shall be saved when Yahshua returns. As the scriptures say, the one, that is Yahshua, who rescues will come from Jerusalem, and he will turn Israel away from unrighteousness. It is meant, this restoration, this turning away of unrighteousness is only for the Israelites, the believers, who listen to the covenant of Yahweh, who understands that they are the temple, and for them to remain as temple, they have to keep the covenant. They have to obey Yahweh's instruction. They have to keep on daily basis, not just do something good today, tomorrow you turn away and do whatever pleases you. Apostle Paul was saying that these people, the Corinthians, they so love themselves, call it affection. It's all about them. Hate was amongst them. Bitterness of heart was amongst them. Even when they read the scriptures, the word of Yahweh, they carry out different things. That will not happen in our midst. We must be practitioners. We must be doers so that we will not be cut off. May that be our portion. May that be our crave daily. May we seek to follow the instruction, to follow the covenant, to follow the will of Yahweh. Because Yahshua came doing the will of the Father. What stops us? Yahshua said, if he had done that, we will do it. Do those things that pleases Yahweh. May that be our portion. May we not be cut off. May we not be swayed by the world, by the Babylonian world where we are today. This is even the greater Babylon, where all Israelites dwell. May we not be caught up by Babylon, and may we be rescued. May Yahweh have mercy upon us, give us grace, and fill us with His Spirit, so that we will continue to obey, abide in His instruction until Yeshua return. In Yeshua's name we pray. Hallelujah.